How do the 7 liberal sciences reflect in the sacred secretion process, or even the human body as a whole? My name is Coach Matt. I'm a Master Certified Spiritual Life Coach, and what we do is we delve into esoteric topics. We can help you get certified if this is something that you're interested. Go check out our content. The links are down below. So what are the 7 liberal arts and sciences that have been fundamentally understood? I think most of this has probably been coined mostly by the European Greek culture. This was probably right around the time of the Pythagoreans. And it actually changes depending on which culture you're studying. But the 7 that I have in just this list that I've pulled up here, that I've cross-checked with a lot of other lists that I've seen online, we'll just use this as the fundamental basis. You have grammar, logic, rhetoric, arithmetic, astronomy, music, and geometry. The first thing that you need to understand about the reality that we live in is everything is based in, well, this is actually a pretty good list as far as understanding, but everything from a higher level, if you take this and you zoom out, we're looking at patterns and math. And now why am I exaggerating those words? Patterns are papa, paternal, it's the father. Mathematics is maternal, it's the mother. In fact, anything, music would be included, anything that has M-A, M-U, or M-O, money, moon, maternal, marine, maritime, music, anything that has M-A, M-U, M-O, M is the 13th letter of the English, or the Anglish, the angel alphabet, the angelic language. So anything with that M-A, M-U, M-O specifically, even me as a person, right? You have me, which is this thing that I can designate a applicable label onto, and then you have we, where you flip it upside down, and now that means me and everybody else. So me is just individual, we is a collective, because you're inverting it. There's a lot of things that go into that, but that would be the that would be more of like the grammatical rhetoric of the way that the English language has been created and extrapolated upon. So let's get into this just a little bit here. Grammar, clearly, that is the study of how language is interpreted, and more importantly, I would say the functionality, the important aspects of how the English language is transliterated and functions as a way in which to communicate. From a magical standpoint, it would probably be associated with like telepathy. You could also say probably rhetoric as well, because rhetoric is really more about charisma. Rhetoric is, so grammar is kind of like the rules of how something functions, and rhetoric is like how to manipulate the rules of that. Grammar would probably be more paternal. It is stationary. If I were to say words that don't coalesce in a sentence properly, then my grammar would be off. We try to speak good here at Psycosmos, but the rhetoric is more so the manipulation of those terms. So again, we see patterns in math. The math, of course, math is very paternal in and of itself. 1 is 1, 2 is 2. However, mathematics are also somewhat emotionally charged, because if I say the number 1, each person watching this video is going to think something differently about what 1 represents to them. Maybe you think the shape of the number 1. Maybe you think of 1 piece of fruit, or maybe you think of 1 as in you, the individual. It's very different, and it's often you have to kind of wade through those waters. Now, you can also argue the same could be said for the words that we use, because everything in this list is going to be dual. It's going to have its own patterns and math to it, its own masculine approach and its own feminine approach. Music is a great example on this list, because it's you can have different tones. Those are locked in place. So A flat, A minor. I'm not a music person, so I apologize if this sounds ridiculous to people who are music people, but you have those tones. I believe there's like a 12 total musical tones, and then there's also a scale, and I don't know exactly the difference. I just know there's 12, and then there's also like 7 and 5, I believe. So you have do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, and then it repeats into do again, which would be 8 total, but it's 7 actually total, because the do is just repeating. And then there are scales to those, and again, I'm not using the right grammar, maybe the right rhetoric in explaining all of this, but you have the 12 tones of music that create music as a whole, which would be like the 13th, which is probably why it's even called music with the M as the 13th letter. So grammar, rhetoric, they kind of coalesce with each other because they're talking about spelling and using words, the English language. It's a way in which we telepathically communicate. And what I mean by telepathy, it's the same as a telephone. Telepathy isn't like, you can read my mind now. Telepathy is, I say words, you download the words, and you understand them at real time. That is essentially a form of magic, or Ma's gift in the Matrix, Ma's tricks. So again, understanding the etymology could really be seen as rhetoric. It's in a way. Arithmetic and geometry are very much also intertwined, because geometry is like the patterns and the shapes of reality, and then you apply the arithmetic, which is more like the mathematics behind it. So you can have a circle, but pi would be more the arithmetic, like the 3.14, the concept of pi, radius, diameters, and things like that. That would be more associated with the arithmetic, if I'm not mistaken, you know. And then you also have like the logic, whereas a lot of these fall under a combination maybe of the left and right brain. Logic is very left brain. It's very, I guess you could call it masculine. Anything that's locked in place as far as a pattern, or as far as a fundamental understanding of nature's rules and laws, that would be very logical. So logic is really the study of how things are set in motion and are somewhat unchanging from a human perspective. Now, there are things like music, which are much more right-brained on this list, but all of them are going to have their own left and right brain, or their own logic and emotional quotients to them, the patterns and the math of reality. Numbers change often, right? So you have the arithmetic, which would be subtraction, multiplication, addition, division, things like that. Well, now the numbers are changing. So anything that has to deal with change, evolution, is often seen as more feminine. Anything that's like locked in place is seen as more masculine. This is, of course, a very esoteric interpretation, a very ancient historical interpretation when cross-culturally studying different worldviews. So I'm not saying like one is the other, or one is more masculine or feminine. What I'm doing is I'm just relating all of this to the past, the present, and where we can be heading with this understanding in the future. So you have, I'm going to go over this one more time. Grammar, the spelling, the understanding of the ways in which we communicate with each other, or rather the ways in which our languages are set in stone because there is a baseline standard. That would be the grammar. Like, you have to follow the rules of the grammar. You could just make up your own words, but people aren't going to understand your language. Logic is, in a higher sense, it involves grammar and some of these other details, but logic is more so, again, the way that things are just set in stone, the way that things are to be in reality. Almost lesser changing. Logic, of course, can change, but there needs to be a change in information in order for logic to change in and of itself. Rhetoric is the manipulation of the grammar, the manipulation of the language in order to charismatically change people's minds in a logical or even illogical, more emotional way. Arithmetic is the understanding of numbers and also their properties and how to change them as well, addition, subtraction, things like that. And I completely went over astronomy or astrology, which again is patterns in math, degrees, shifting with planetary objects. So the paternal things would be the things that are locked in place, and the maternal aspects of that is tracking their movements and their changes over time. The sun is always going to be in 1 degree at a time. That's very paternal. That's the pattern. Every single day, 360 degrees, 365 days in a year, the sun is moving about 1 degree every single day. That's the pattern. That's the logic to it. The maternal aspect would be, now the sun is in Pisces, now the sun is in Aries. What kind of filtration, what kind of energy are we feeling from those particular parts of the sky? And then music, of course, would be understanding patterns and math in a vibrational, sound-related way in order to sometimes even stir emotions or even come up with deeper thoughts. You know, people say you have classical music, which can help you advance logically in a lot of ways, depending on what kind of work you're doing. Or you have like sad songs that kind of get to the heart. And then, of course, geometry, study of like shapes, and I guess like mathematics and patterns in and of itself. Geometry is kind of like widely spread in that kind of regard. Now, how does this relate to the sacred secretion? Well, understanding all of these are actually ways in which you can help elevate your Kristos, your Kundalini, your sacred secretion processes within the body. For example, grammar and rhetoric. I'm just going to clump some of these together for the sake of the video here. Grammar and rhetoric, obviously you can go into meditative stances in the Om. You're creating vibrational frequencies which are going to allow your body to resonate with different things. Also, the words that you use during specific times of the month, or just, you know, throughout your life, if you're slinging venom at other people, that could really potentially negatively impact you, just because each and every word that you say is really important. So the more that you communicate with people in a negative way, the more negative energy you can pull towards you in a magnetic sense. But if you are spreading good joy and love and a lot of positive emotions, then it would also work for, in that sense, vice versa. Now, the logic that you apply is also very crucially important, because the logic that you apply will help you get to better end results. It will pave better roads for you. Then you also have the arithmetic and the geometry, the understanding of not just the ways that you can add and subtract things into your life that are either good for you or bad for you, but also the geometry, like the shapes of the way that your body can move and stretch and function. You know, yoga or Pilates or any of those types of stretchings can actually help assist with the movement and the blood flow in the body in order to propel that. And then, of course, you need the astronomy to understand your sacred secretion cycle for both men and women. And then finally, music. What kind of vibrations are you putting in? It's not just music from the musical standpoint, I guess you could say. What kind of music are you hearing from other people, like as in the words that they are communicating to you? Because that will actually play a massive role in your ability to do that. They've already done this with plants. They've found that playing plants music, or even playing the water that they feed the plants, specific tones and music and vibrational frequencies, will have a huge impact on the way that those plants grow and sustain life. So I hope that that is a good enough answer, and I hope that you guys found this video interesting. If you guys are interested in learning more from us, go check out those links. We have a lot of free resources. You can also study with us and get certified, or go check out our books. And if you guys have any awesome other video ideas, feel free to drop a comment down below, and we will be making more content in the not too distant future. Look out for all of our new videos every single day. Lots of love, guys. Take care.